And my dad always used to say, he's like, well, when you shoot something out when you're hunting, that's when the work begins.
That's right.
In some cases, we're looking for it to be a no, just so that the work doesn't begin.
That fear factor that's clear up here, that's like they're always going to the worst case scenario, it starts to dwindle down because they're like, well, man, Colter says it's a good deal, and Jason says it's a good deal, and so-and-so looked over these numbers, and wow, and all your fear just starts keeping going down and down. Not that it ever goes away.
What is it that could go so wrong to prevent us from, actually taking action? Well, there's really not a whole lot.
Welcome back. This is the Massive Passive Income Show. I'm Jason.
And I'm Colter, and we're going to talk about analysis paralysis and what prevents us from taking massive action because we just continue to spin our wheels through all the data and questions that we need answered and due diligence, which prevent us from ultimately making a decision to do something that we expect and can anticipate would be an impact on our lives.
Yeah, I think most people, when they get into that analysis paralysis, it's I think they're scared to death to pull the trigger. And so they get busy in stuff that they are learning. They get busy in stuff that people are saying, hey, you need to do this, you need to do this. And so they get wrapped up into that because they're scared to death to pull the trigger. And so that ends up being analysis paralysis. And then it becomes like quicksand. Once you analyze it too much, then you find too many variables that is going to be a negative. And then it becomes overwhelming. And then a lot of people never pull the trigger. Mm-hmm. And it could be that way for almost anything. And so I think let's dig into that because I think there's some stuff to learn there, and I think there's stuff to overcome there.
Yeah, I mean, so as you look at a project, and let's just take a single family home, for instance, like what is it that really is massively concerning, right? So we're going to buy a single family home, let's call it a $250,000 property, and you're going to go in and buy it just on a traditional mortgage, right? 20% down, $50,000. You're going to carry a note. There's going to be a note from the bank for $200,000. Like, what is it that could go so wrong to prevent us from, actually taking action? Well, there's really not a whole lot. I mean, if you didn't get a renter for, 3 years, that could potentially cause a lot of problems.
That
right?
could, yes.
I mean, a $200,000 mortgage is going to cost you about $1,500 a month with your PITI, which is principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. Mm-hmm. So if it costs you about $1,500 a month, are you ready to hold it for a year? So $18,000 in order to get the right tenant that's going to be there, come in, take care of your property, and start to pay it down for you.
But that's worst case scenario.
That's worst case scenario.
Yeah, I've never had it take that long to find a tenant. But a lot of times people, they read the negative and they research the negative because they kind of want the negative, because they want real estate, but they don't want the risk of real estate. And so they almost are hoping that they never find a deal because they're scared to death to pull the trigger for the deal. I've mentored hundreds of people along the way, and usually that's where it stops. And so when you jump in, you analyze, it gets to the point that they're just scared to death. So how do we get over the scared part? That's the part we got to dig into. Because I mean, I don't know about you, but I've bought hundreds of properties, and I still get a little pit in my stomach of a little bit scared, Mm-hmm. But I let the numbers drive me. I let the numbers speak to me, and not so much just my gut. But I do listen to my gut and listen to my wife. Those are two things I listen to.
Those are big deals.
Yes. Yes.
Well, I want to just bring in a comparison here. My dad, we talk about hunting all the time, loved to be in the mountains, grew up in Wyoming. And my dad always used to say, he's like, well, when you shoot something out when you're hunting, that's when the work begins.
That's right.
Right?
It's all fun till then.
It's all fun until you shoot something. And so, I think it could be very much, similar as like, as soon as we realize that it can and it should be a yes, because the analysis has told us to go, in some cases, we're looking for it to be a no, just so that the work doesn't begin.
Yeah. And there's no risk in looking.
There's no risk in looking.
No risk in looking. And there's no risk in analyzing. No risk at all. And so I think a lot of people just get trapped into that. So I think here's what I've seen over the years on when people finally take action, when they get out of that analysis paralysis, is they start networking with the right people. They start having other people look at the numbers with them. They start walking properties with somebody like you and me, or somebody else that's done, a few properties also. And what that happens is that fear factor that's clear up here, that's like they're always going to the worst case scenario, it starts to dwindle down, because they're like, well, man, Colter says it's a good deal, and Jason says it's a good deal, and so looked over these numbers, and wow, and all your fear just starts keep going down and down. Not that it ever goes away, and I hope it never goes away, because I think if the fear ever stops or goes away, I think that's when I'll get in trouble, probably, because I'll buy something I probably shouldn't. But I think the networking and the education and a second opinion, I think for me, even now, really helps me get over that I'm excited to get real estate. I really want to buy a deal. I really want to make this happen, but I'm scared to death. And so as you get more and more involved, instead of just analyzing all the negative, get a hold of people that can come in and walk it with you, look at it with you, run the numbers, and then it helps your fear factor go down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love the idea of mentorship and a collaboration and, mastermind, people that are like-minded, that you know, like, and trust, and are in the industry.
Yeah.
Right? What you don't want to do is go and ask somebody that you just simply know they're going to be a naysayer around it, right? You know the kinds of negative people that we invite into our lives, and that we should uninvite into our lives.
It's so true. And sometimes they're a loved one, or sometimes they're a close family.
Sometimes they are. And you either naturally distance yourself from them, or you just know that you have to take them in small bite sizes. So, but coming back to is like, if we're surrounding ourselves with those like-minded people, then we're going to make like-minded decisions. And, that's what I love about our mastermind. That's what I love about, the opportunities that we have to collaborate with really intelligent business owners and people that are just starting out, knowing that they want to be that intelligent business owner, real estate investor, et cetera.
Yeah.
And
just you and I, last Tuesday after our podcast, you and I sat in your desk there, and for an hour, we just threw out like 6 or 8 ideas, and you come up with an idea, I come up with an idea on top of that idea, and man, I swear we accomplished like 2 weeks of work in an hour, because we were both open to working off each other's ideas and coming up with some game plans, and coming up, I think, with some pretty awesome things. Mm-hmm. And it's just getting a hold of somebody that's like-minded, like you said, get a hold of somebody that is open-minded also, and is out to figure out why instead of why not, or maybe that's the other way around. Why not and not why. I don't know. Maybe so. Surround yourself by somebody that says don't do it, and somebody like, let's do it.
Yeah. Yeah, and if you have people that are around you that motivate you, this analysis paralysis, the tripping stones or the barriers that we'll face in the process of getting to that end goal, whether it's the $250,000 single family home, or it's a $750,000 fourplex, or it's a $7 million 50-unit complex. Like, it's like any of those in between, like, you want to collaborate with the right people. I had a guy call me yesterday. He's like, Colter, how do I know if this is a good deal? And it's 53 units in a community next to a university. And he's like, they didn't tell me the purchase price. There's a lot of work that has to be done. And so, I just walked him through. I'm like, here's a list of like 20 questions that I would ask.
Yeah.
And then he's like, oh, but I'm going to sound like I'm dumb. I'm like,
no.
Well, if the real estate agent that you talk to isn't willing to talk to anybody on the spectrum of knowledge in real estate, then they're not a very good agent.
Yeah.
Right? They've got to be able to talk to the brand new person. And, I was talking to somebody that just made several $1 million off of the sale of a business. He's ready to dump it into wealth retaining assets.
Yeah.
Right? And so this guy, while he's saying, hey, well, I'm nervous because I don't understand very well what I'm doing in multifamily real estate. I'm like, well, that's okay. You don't have to understand all of the things in multifamily real estate, but you calling me is one step closer to you being able to
definitely
make sure that you can. And when you have this real estate agent that now is going to take this phone call, I hope to high heaven that he's ready to talk to somebody that doesn't have a clue as to how to buy more than a duplex, and say, you know what, here are the answers to your questions, and here's some of the commonly asked questions, because he doesn't know who he's selling to yet.
Yeah.
And this person has the ability to go and pull the trigger and pay cash for that complex that's been offered to the market.
That's awesome. So my thing is whoever holds the money never asks a dumb question. I that's the way I mean, it doesn't matter. I mean, even if I'm talking to somebody, I want to borrow their money for maybe a hard money deal for whatever. If they ask me the most basic that you'd normally think, wow, that's kind of a weird, never a dumb question. Never a dumb question, especially when you're asking for money. So any realtor or anybody else that's trying to sell that, if they think, wow, this guy, that's a dumb question, well, he's got the money and he's going to purchase from you. So it's not a dumb question. Never,
Yeah. Well, I love he who has the money makes the rules.
So true.
Right? And so, if I'm going into a project and I have the cash and I'm going to go and, make the offer, like I'm the one that's in the position of power of saying, am I going to spend my money or am I not? Right? Or if I'm working, like you say, with a hard money lender, or if I'm working, like I've got to follow the rules of the terms and conditions of whatever's coming with that money.
Yeah.
And so I love that.
Yeah. I had a guy call me about 4 months ago and he said, hey, I just got this offer on this property and man, this guy's being so petty. He's asking for the dumbest things. He's asking for the silliest things. And I'm like, well, do you want to sell the property? He's like, well, yeah. I said, have you had any other offers? Well, no. Have you ever had a cash offer this good? No. Said, then I'd do anything he wanted. If he wanted you to wash his pickup the day of when you're selling, I'd go wash that pickup. I mean, I said, how silly is he? He goes, oh, well, it's not quite that silly. I said, then just do it. Or not. But I said, if you want to sell the property, you haven't had any other offers, and this guy's good and he's got cash. Man, whatever he asked for, he wanted me to give him a gift card. If he wanted me to take his dog for a walk for the next week, take his dog for a walk the next week. It just depends on how bad you want to sell it. And if this guy's real and can really, come up with money, he's like, wow, that is a good perspective. He's like, okay, I'm going to stop complaining about his silly things. And they weren't near like, walk my dog or wash the pickup. But once I threw it out there, that's silly. Then he's like, okay, I guess it's not that big a deal. And it was just a few things they wanted to leave. They wanted a couple things that they wanted some mentorship on. And there was a couple other things that they needed the money a certain way. And I'm like, wow, I said, that's just a real estate deal there. That's not silly. Yeah. But he felt like it was a lot of little petty stuff.
Yeah. Well, and I'm going through the sale of a property right now, and the buyer is newer to buying multifamily real estate, and one of his questions was, well, what if the appraisal doesn't come back? And I said, well, that sounds like a great opportunity to renegotiate if that's the case, right?
Yep.
You have to still appreciate that you want the property, and the seller has to still appreciate that they want to sell the property.
Yeah.
And so what either happens is, you come with more money because you still want the property and you're okay with paying the price. And if it's $10,000 difference or 15 or 50,000, then there has to be that wiggle room.
Yeah.
But the seller also has the option of saying, I don't think that appraisal is quite right. We're going to get it reappraised and we'll provide a new value on it. And then the negotiation can continue. But the idea of real estate being this like fixated black and white, this is the only way to do it. There is no reason for that is conceptually incorrect.
Yeah.
Right? Real estate is fluid. There's so much creativity that goes into it. There
so many moving parts,
terms and conditions. And at the end of the day, like it comes down to a conversation between two individuals or many that then have to be satisfied that this is the right transaction for us.
Yeah. I don't think I've had one, well, maybe a few, but very few real estate deals ever are exactly like another one. Like there's always some kind of nuance. There's always some kind of a hiccup or something that we've never done before, or we do very rarely in buying a property, especially when you work with people that are, in distressed properties, when you work with people that are selling for a discount, you're working for somebody to own or carry. Man, there's so many variables there that can be so different from another transaction.
Yeah. So when it comes to analysis paralysis, we've talked about a lot of things.
Yeah.
And we've gone the spectrum of, a transaction and the experiences that we have and the barriers that we've gone through. Analysis paralysis comes down to reminding yourself what you're trying to accomplish.
Yeah.
If real estate viewing is simply the goal that you have. Like if you want to go and look at a lot of property and spin the wheels of a lot of real estate agents, I feel bad for those real estate agents for one.
And bad for you, for the person. Yeah.
And for two, like, yeah, it's fine for you to go and appreciate the architecture and the builder's designs and all those things, but you have to decide what it is that you're in it for. Because if you don't understand what you're in it for, you're not going to make decisions that will impact your bottom line.
Yeah. It's like that old saying, I think I've said it before on this podcast before, but it's 1 for the money, 2 for the show, 3 to get ready, and 4 to go. But what ends up happening is people get stuck in that 3 to get ready, 3 to get ready, 3 to get ready, 3 to get ready. I've had people that have been looking at real estate for a year and still haven't bought a deal yet. 3 years and still haven't got a deal yet. Now, man, I'll tell you what, you want to ask them about what a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house sells for in Idaho Falls on such and such street, man, they can rattle it off like nothing because they just do constant research. And I believe that one guy that's been in for about 3 years, he's been trying to look for it. I think he'll eventually buy one, but he's an engineer. He's retired out of the side. So he gets to do analysis paralysis like crazy. And he's going to listen to this. He's going to know exactly who I'm talking because we just had a conversation a couple weeks ago, but I think he'll do it. I think he'll eventually do it. It's okay. The big thing is too, is there's no rush. Don't feel like you've got to, like you're running some fast sprint race and that Colter's going to buy them all up or I'm going to buy them all up if you don't get out there and get a deal done. No, that's not going to happen. So if it takes you a year, give yourself some slack. You haven't done the deal yet. But if you've been in it for a couple years and you still haven't done it, then reach out to us. Let's see if we can get you over that hump. Let's see if we can get you to a spot where you're ready to make a decision. Because my very first real estate deal, the inspector that I hired to go out and do that, to inspect the house, at the end, I said, Ron, what do you think? And he goes, man, if you don't buy this thing, I'll buy it. And that was the only thing I needed, the extra piece to fit in to say, well, man, if Ron's going to buy it, I'm buying it. Because then I had fear of loss, hope of gain. I went out and did all this research, found this deal, and then I bail on it, and then Ron's going to buy it, and he's going to have this great deal that he loved, and he walked through with me, and that's what helped me push me over. So if that's somebody, like if you feel like you're getting an analysis paralysis, need a little help, reach out to us. We'd love to go walk a property with you or look at the numbers and see if that's something that we would buy, and we'll tell you.
Yeah,
and we will. And we won't just say it just to say it. Like the other day we were talking to a guy about a deal, and I told him when you spread the whole deal out there, I was like, man, if he doesn't buy this, I'll buy it because I would. Yeah. I would definitely.
Well, and I just walked a property on Saturday with a young couple, and we walked through the numbers and understood and different pieces. And hey, there's a mold remediation issue that we need to deal with, and the split level is kind of crazy, and some people are attracted to that, some people aren't. And, at the end, like they've decided that that's not the property for them simply because I think it's bigger than what they want to tackle in the first one. But second of all, like them understanding what they should be looking for, because they wouldn't have seen the mold. They wouldn't have seen like the type of sentiment that people are going through a property like that with.
Yeah.
And the configuration was a little bit funky, but they have to understand the market, like where it is and in which locations. And, but it just helps to go through with somebody that has a little bit more experience and expertise and understanding, and having seen the market and sold a couple of properties like that one we walked through, and bought and held and rented them out, and knowing that market. Just, you got to rely on more than just your singular spreadsheet that is going to be, it'll take you a distance, but it may not take you the full distance to pull the trigger.
Yeah. Love it. Love it. So remember, 1 for the money, 2 for the show, and you really do need to get ready, but let us help you go. Right?
Yeah.
Let's help you go.
I like it.
Yeah, definitely.